Hi there, my name is Daniel and I collect stamps. We are back to sorting through the stamps from our drawing book. We only have a few left on that page, so this should be quick. Our first stamp is from Salvador, and it's an airmail stamp. We found this stamp in our catalog. It was issued as both general mail and airmail stamp. We need to look under the airmail section of this catalog to find our catalog number. It is part of 1956 Chalatenango issue and it is card number C175. I don't have this stamp in my collection, so I'll gladly add it to my collection. Even though Salvadorian stamps are inexpensive, they rarely come through in general collections. I only have a handful of those. Our next stamp is from Spain. This stamp was issued with and without imprint and in 3 different perforation varieties. Our stamp is without imprint, which was printed in 2 different perforation varieties, so we need to measure perforation on this stamp. This stamp measures perforated 13 at the top and the bottom, and 13¼ on the sides. This corresponds with 1949-1953 issue of this design. This stamp with denomination of 1 pesetas is card number 702A. This stamp is in good condition, but I do have a copy of this stamp in my collection. This is a copy I have in my collection. My copy also is a sound copy, doesn't have any damage, and has much cleaner cancel, much lighter cancel, so I'll keep my copy and sell this one. Here's another stamp from Spain. This stamp is part of Builders of the New World series, but of a later issue. It is part of 1962 issue, catalog number 1138, 5 pesetas Pedro de la Casca. Catalog value for this stamp in used condition is $1.50, which is a little more than minimum value we were encountering so far. I don't have this stamp in my collection, so I'll add it to it. Our next stamp is from Sweden. Sverige is Swedish spelling of the country's name. This stamp is design A60 and was issued in 1940. Design A60 is similar with design A55. However, design A55 has solid background and design A60 has a background of horizontal and diagonal lines. Design A60 was issued in sheets and coils. Sheets perforated on all 4 sides, like we see the one here, and the coils perforated on 2 sides, like our stamp. Design A60 was also later reissued, however, denomination 20 ore was not included in that set. This means our stamp is number 303. I have this stamp in my collection, and this is a copy from my collection, but the cancel on my stamp is a little heavier, so I like this one more. I will replace the stamp I have with this new one. Our next stamp is from Switzerland. Helvetia is national personification of the country, and it's used instead of Switzerland on all country stamps and coins. This stamp is part of 1960-1963 series, featuring different designs. There are 2 types of this 10 cm design. One with dot on the pike below head and one without dot. And I had to pull out my high resolution magnifying glass to show you the difference. You see this dot right here, right there on the pike? This dot indicating type 1 stamp. And this is type 2 for my personal collection, and there is no dot on the pike. Besides being of 2 different types, this stamp was issued on 2 different paper. One granite paper with red and blue fibers, and another on fluorescent paper with violet fibers. And I was trying to fire up my microscope to show you the difference. Unfortunately, my microscope decided not to work, and we cannot really see that difference in color of the fibers without the microscope, as high magnification doesn't really show us that. We'll put the stamp aside for now, and I'll get back to it when I fix my microscope. Our next stamp is from Romania. The country's name can be spelled Romina, Romana, or Romania. This stamp was issued during the Soviet rule, which can be recognized by RP letters in front of country's name, which stands for Republika Populara. And this is also an airmail stamp, which can be recognized by Posta Aeriana. This stamp is part of 1959 Birds set. This stamp can be collected by Romania collectors, by worldwide collectors, by bird topical collectors, or by topical airmail collectors. Its catalog number is C60 and the value 20 cents. I'll be adding this stamp to my collection as I don't have this one. Romanian stamps are very common, mostly of minimal value, but there were many thousands of different stamps issued throughout the period, so it's not very easy to collect them. Find pockets upon pockets of Romanian stamps in stamp collections, but still it's not enough to fill all the empty spots in the album. Our next stamp is from Uruguay. It is also an airmail stamp, which can be recognized by wording Correo Aéreo. Found this stamp in our catalog. This was not an easy thing to do, because our design is quite different from the design represented in Scott's catalog. You have to look for similar wording in the design. In our case, it's Punta del Este and Turismo in Uruguay. The stamp's number is C196 and it has 20 cents for the value. I'll add this stamp to my collection as I don't have this one. Up next is Venezuela. It's got number 743, value 25 cents. Another empty spot to be filled in my collection. Moving on to Yugoslavia, countries that no longer exist. Design A7 of King Alexander. This stamp was issued 3 times. First with imprint, the wording below the frame of the stamp, without imprint, and third time as memorial issue with black borders around the stamp. Our stamp is without imprint, so it is number 79, value 20 cents. I sold my Yugoslavia collection a while ago to raise some funds, so I only have very few of them left. I'm going to start to rebuild this, so I'm going to add this one to my collection. Another stamp from Yugoslavia. Design A20 of Marshal Tito. Number 167, value 20 cents, will be joining my collection. Our last stamp of the day is also from Yugoslavia. Design A68, showing workers of different industries. Each stamp has different design. This stamp was issued 3 times, with each reissue adding more designs. The first time the stamp was issued, the printing method was engraving, and the color of the stamp, 1 dinar stamp, was blue-green. Our stamp is not blue-green, it's a gray color, so it's not part of this. The second time the stamp was issued, the printing method was engraving, and the color of this 1 dinar stamp was gray, which matches our stamp. The third time the stamp was issued, the printing method was lithography, and the color of the 1 dinar stamp was dull gray. And unless you have both stamps, you can't really tell the difference between the dull gray and the gray. They all look gray. So this is why I mentioned the printing method, because to differentiate between 2 stamps, we have to figure out which printing method was used for this stamp. For this specific issue, both engraved and lithography stamps look very similar. You can't really differentiate between the 2 printings just by looking at that stamp. To differentiate between the 2 printings, I used thin aluminum foil. Placing aluminum foil over the stamp and rubbing it with your finger is the method I use. Careful not to damage the stamp. If this stamp was engraved, we would see an outline of the frame on the stamp and also the wording of the country's name. With engraving printing method, the ink is raised on the surface of the stamp. Because of that, some of the design features of the stamp can transfer on an aluminum foil. Since we didn't see any outlines of the design in the foil, this means this is a lithograph stamp. It is part of 1953-55 issue and the number is 378, value 20 cents. Also will be joining my collection. This is all for today. We found a number of stamps that I added to my collection, which is always a joy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to check out my HipStamp store. I collect stamps, and see you next time.